Welcome to the Remove the Guesswork podcast. Hi there, welcome back to the Remove the Guesswork podcast. If you're new to the show, welcome. I hope you really enjoy this episode. I'm your host, Leanne Spencer. And if you're a regular listener, thank you for your loyalty and for coming back. So my guest this week is Dominique Drayson. Dominique's a really good friend of mine. We've been friends since school days. And this year she did an incredible thing. She joined a very elite group of runners who've completed a marathon. She ran the Bournemouth Marathon in October of this year. But it's a really interesting backstory into what got her into running in the first place and what led up to the marathon and how it's had an impact not just on her physical fitness but her mental health as well, and what that's really done for how she manages stress and anxiety. And she has a family with 2 children. She also, her and her husband, run their own business. So life is very busy, as I'm sure many of yours is. So I think if you've got kids, particularly if you're a woman, and you want to find out how you can better manage your mental health through the use of things like improving your sleep, cutting down on alcohol, mindfulness, meditation, even things like silent retreats. We talk about it all and what's worked for Dom. So it's a really great show. Leave us your feedback, and if you've got questions for Dom or I, you can just send an email through to info@bodyshotperformance.com and we'll pick that up and get it answered. So here is Dominique Drayson. Enjoy the show. Dom, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to this. Now, I will have explained to people in the introduction that we're old friends, so there will be a familiarity about this. But why I wanted to get you on was you've obviously joined a really exclusive club this year of marathon runners.
Yes.
But that wasn't your intention, was it, when you started running?
No.
Tell us the story. Pick up at the beginning, that first kind of proper run in the last 12 or 18 months. And it's just explain what made you want to do that and how you were feeling at the time.
Okay, so I've always run, but it's always been sort of 10Ks maximum. I've always enjoyed running, probably I'd say on and off the last 10 years, but more seriously in the last 5 years, I started to do 10Ks and actually do organised races. A year ago, I did the Bournemouth half marathon, which was a massive achievement for me. As prior to that, 10K was my maximum, and I think it was that sort of psychological shift then of actually, no, I can achieve more than this. So trained for the half marathon, felt very proud of doing that. I'd always, I think all my life, thought I would love to do a marathon, but I really didn't think I had it in me. Which I think is true of a lot of people. In fact, even now, most people will say, how, can you do that? I could never do that. And I had felt that even after the half marathon, I didn't think I was capable of a full marathon, but with a little bit of arm twisting from yourself.
Just a little, yeah.
Just a little. I went ahead and went for it.
Yeah. And just explain to anyone who's listening in what your personal circumstances are, because it's not just you, is it? You've got other responsibilities.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I help to run a business with my husband, and I also have 2 children, aged 6 and 9. So life's very busy, very hectic. And trying to find time is sometimes difficult. But I probably in the last, I would say, year or so, I prioritised exercise and made that. It's a non-negotiable. I think, as you said before, it's something I have to do now.
Yeah. And why was that? What was the why behind that, making it non-negotiable? Because that's a powerful thing to do, but it's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not. I think, and often as mothers as well, that are also working, we don't put ourselves first. And that's not a natural thing to do. Everyone else seems to come first. You're sort of providing and caring and worrying about everybody else. And then actually realising maybe somewhere along the line that my needs weren't being met, and therefore starting to perhaps feel anxious or depressed or unfulfilled, and realising that I needed to do something for me to improve that. And for me, exercise has been that magic wand, if you like, that's enabled me to just become more whole, more relaxed and a happier person.
So take us back then to your kind of lowest point in terms of the things you've mentioned, anxiety, depression. How were you feeling, or what was going on for you at the time?
Well, I have suffered from anxiety and panic attacks over the years, probably from my early 20s, and sort of battled with it. and can recognise, that those triggers now. But yeah, I would say it would feel like the whole world was coming in on you, that you couldn't cope, tense all the time, maybe overthinking, worrying about very small things, overreacting, and then the worst case scenario is the full-blown panic attacks that maybe at my worst times I might feel whilst driving, or perhaps when I'm tired, or it could be as a result of drinking the night before, or whatever it might be.
And what are some of the triggers, if you can share that?
I think probably in life taking on too much, not saying no, and then becoming overwhelmed. It may be, certain personal problems that you encounter. Worry about family members, that sort of thing. And I think maybe just that overwhelming, I can't do it all feeling when you are trying to juggle everything. And you just think, I can't really do everything well. I'm trying to do everything and I can't do any of those bits well when you're in that sort of state.
No, not when you've reached critical mass, there's just too many plates spinning for you to possibly keep them all going. And that's so common as well. I see that with a lot of people I know, a lot of people that we work with. They've got so many plates spinning, taken on huge responsibilities, whether it's convergent pressures of work and home and family and friends and other obligations. Then there's what's in yourself. I should be able to do this. I should be doing that. They can do it. Why can't I? And it builds. So how were you dealing with it at the time? Or how were you just keeping your head above water? Because you did do that, didn't you? You didn't have any sort of collapse.
No, I think various methods that I've learnt. Do you mean just coping while I was feeling depressed? Or
what were the things you reached for? Whether they were you'd recommend them or not? How were you managing?
Okay. Mindfulness for sure. I sort of started to read a little bit about mindfulness, and that really helped me. At a very low point, I think. The idea of stopping and just being, even when you're feeling highly anxious, to just stop and actually recognise those feelings, and accept them and forgive yourself or whatever it might be for feeling those feelings and stopping in the moment at that time. Deep breathing, meditation, which I would highly recommend, all of those things. And for me, realising that fresh air and exercise was something I had to build into my lifestyle. Cutting down on alcohol has hugely helped me in my mental health and my physical health. And trying to get enough sleep. So I can look back now and think, some of those things I was doing. I think now I've got the bigger picture, but I think I was reaching out, and also counselling at the time as well, and CBT. Lot to be said for that.
Yeah. What did that do for you?
It helped me to understand what was happening in my brain, I think. So when you almost, it's like a puzzle, and then you can get all the bits and go, I'm feeling this because of this, and therefore that's making me feel this way. And then understanding how you could perhaps react differently, because it's all about how you react. Obviously, everybody has issues and problems in their life, but it's understanding that it's only down to how you react to that situation that will make you feel a certain way. So that's quite powerful for me.
And I'm sure most people listening have had some experience of counselling or CBT or therapy in some form, even if it's a cup of tea with a friend, or it's something rather than something more formal. But I think it helps to get a third person or another person who's objective, that you can be open with if you found the right person. But they don't know your personal situation, in terms of they don't come round for dinner, and they don't know your family members, and they're not part of your inner circle or even your outer circle of friends. Just to take that objective vantage point. And obviously with their professional training as well, I think it's hugely beneficial. Let's come on to some of the other things. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, mine was in a group setting, which again was really helpful, because you're with other people that you don't know, but you realise that there are lots of other people feeling exactly the same way as you. And that in itself helps, I think. Yeah.
Because that's the funny thing with anxiety and depression and even chronic stress, is that you tend It's this irony that you tend to think you're the only one going through it, and it's sadly, incredibly common.
Yes.
But it's an isolating condition as well, isn't it? It's the conundrum of it. Okay, let's come on to some of the other things you said were helpful for you. Sleep. What did you change about sleep?
I think trying to make sure that I'd go to bed at a reasonable hour, or try to put some sort of routine in place. I've never found getting to sleep that difficult, but I think during the periods where I was feeling anxious and low, I think it was harder and harder. I swear by lavender oil, and I still use that with the children now on the pillow.
Yeah, so do I. A few little drops of essential organic lavender oil on the pillow at night.
Yeah, amazing. And I'm just trying to think now. Yeah, I think routine is very important, and there was a tendency to sometimes stay up late, watch TV and not again think about yourself and think about the importance of feeling well rested. And also, again, I'll go back to drinking. Probably there have been times when you drink because you're low, so you might have a few drinks in the evening and think, well, this will send me off to sleep. Well, actually, that isn't, you realize you wake up the next day and don't feel rested, and that wasn't the best thing to do. Just trying to that quality sleep, which I realize now is so much better if you don't have out any alcohol the night before.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's been lots of studies done on this, and a small amount of alcohol can induce deep sleep quicker, but it then increases the number of sleep intrusions throughout the night.
Right.
So you may fall asleep a little quicker. And I'm sure there's some psychological stuff as well around, I've had a couple of drinks, I'm relaxed, I'm calm, I'll be able to sleep better. But it's proven that after a very short amount of deep sleep, you'll wake up more times in the night. Plus, then, from a physical perspective, your bladder's full. So you're going to need to get up and empty that at some point as well. So it definitely does nothing for sleep. That's a well-populated myth, which I think some people are awake to now, but...
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And what else about sleep? So you've got the lavender oil, there's the going to bed early, not necessarily watching television before night, being aware of keeping off alcohol. Is there anything else you do for your sleep routine?
I'm trying at the moment to not look at my smartphone before bed, but sometimes I do.
That's a work in progress.
It is a work in progress. Even the small things, like I've started to charge my phone downstairs rather than in the bedroom at night. Brilliant. Yeah, and just noticing that difference. And you almost feel a bit freer when you wake up and there isn't a phone next to you, weirdly.
Yep. So we've started putting ours on flight mode at about 9 o'clock. So, unless there's something in your personal situation that means you need to be near a phone, really most of us don't, unless you've got, a sick relative perhaps, and you might get a phone call. So it goes on flight mode at 9 o'clock. It does come into the bedroom, gets charged on the other side of the bedroom. There's no chance of anything dinging, pinging or whirring or binging because it's on flight mode. The thing I'm working on next is not reaching for it first thing, partly because I want to know what the time is, but there are many other ways of doing that. Phone or clock by the bed, for example. But then I do tend to flick it off flight mode and wait for the dopamine to kick in as messages come up. Ping, ping, ping. So it's a work in progress with me, but just getting it on flight mode, because that also means the phone isn't constantly looking for a Wi-Fi signal and it's not constantly looking for a Bluetooth signal. So I haven't got these electrical magnetical forces rushing around the room. It's not seeking a signal all the time. So that's been really good for me as well. I mean, these are all small things, little marginal gains you can make to try and get a better night's sleep when you wrap it all together.
Yes.
Yeah, so sleep's so important for mental health as well, and obviously for the physical aspect of your training and just about everything.
Yeah, definitely.
And meditation, what's your routine around that? Are you still doing that every day?
No, and I, again, probably more of a work in progress. I go through phases. I have used Headspace before. I also... I have a good friend who's a Buddhist, and she offers silent retreats every now and again where I go to her house and we sit for 3.5 hours in silence, which is absolutely incredible. Yeah. So they're sort of timed periods, and then she would maybe do a reading in between. So it's not solid 3.5 hours. And then we'll get up and we'll have a walking meditation garden, whilst silence the whole time, and that is incredible. I do try to bring 5 minutes in when I can, whether it might be in the bath. First thing in the morning is brilliant. I think whenever I do meditate for 5 or 10 minutes in the morning, I always that awful manic school run to be so much easier to handle.
Yeah, that's a really good point, actually. I think a lot of people who listen to this will have school run featuring in their calendar at least part of the week, if not all week. And yeah, anything you can do to make that a bit more calming. So I was on one of our mutual friends. I did the school run yesterday with her, and it's cars everywhere. It's absolutely bonkers.
Yeah, but it's not even just the build up to getting the children ready when you're busy. You need to go to work. They don't want to get up, and it tends, in my house anyway, to culminate in this stressful point. So if there's something you can do to calm yourself down so that you can handle the stresses around you better without reacting, then I think it's go for it. Whether it be exercise, meditation, deep breathing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think whatever state that we're in as parents, it will permeate down to the children.
Definitely.
And anyone else really you come into contact with.
Definitely.
No, that's brilliant. I do 10 minutes usually every morning, but certainly 10 minutes a day. I use the Headspace app, which I'll link to in the show notes for anyone listening in. And it's definitely made me calmer, much calmer, a little bit more able to deal with the rigours of running a business and the rigours of just moving around a busy city. The demands for my physical training as well. I'm really keen on it. And part of my routine now is after I've done a high intensity session, which I'll do 2 or 3 times a week, I'll come home, get on the foam roller. Again, I'll link to that. It's just a bit of kit to help you sort of massage yourself out after a workout. And I'll also put in my noise cancelling headphones on and do a 10-minute meditation afterwards with one of the packs they've got in Headspace that's specifically for exercise recovery. But any type of meditation. I mean, you can just sit there and breathe, and it just helps to bring you from a sympathetic dominant state, which is your fight, flight, stress. You know, in this case, it's a good stressor because it's exercise, into a parasympathetic dominance, which I've talked lots about on this show, which is your kind of rest, digest, recovery mode. So I'm switching myself from alert, energized, and activated, if you like, into more of a calm, restful. Right, let's start recovering. Let's start getting the benefit of that exercise. So that's a big part of my routine. So let's come on then. I mean, you've mentioned loads of things there, which I think are going to be really helpful for people. How is exercise a therapy for you? How did that work for you when you started running, presumably because you wanted to try and mitigate the feelings of anxiety and depression that you had? How did that work? How did that play out?
For a number of reasons. With having young children, it's a sense of release. So there was partly that. It's me time. So there was a sense of getting out in the fresh air and being alone and being away, and also realizing how much it would help for my mental health. So the endorphin rush, really, and I would still say I'm addicted to that now, because it's that overwhelming feeling of well-being that you get after running, doing a HIIT session, whatever it might be, that then lasts throughout the day normally. So yeah.
And how long did it take to start feeling better?
Or
more in control?
I think probably around 6 months, using a combination of sort of CBT, exercise, some counselling, and then from that point, really just incorporating exercise into my daily life. But yeah, you're not going to feel better instantly, but it's just literally take every day. And I think within sort of maybe 3 to 6 months, I was starting to feel better with that combination of things.
And were you doing something every day?
No, probably not. Probably 2 to 3 times a week, I would say. And again, or not even that, because it was really hard trying to find the time with having very small children. But then I think if you can explain to family members the importance, I think that's really key, actually, the importance of putting yourself first and the fact you need that time, and explaining why you need that time, and then everybody's on board, and you can somehow make that time, whether you enlist other family members to help with the children so that you can get out. But you need to do that.
Yeah. So I guess that's a really big part of building a routine, is getting other people on board, particularly when you've got children. Yeah. How else did you make it a non-negotiable? What were the things you told yourself?
Just simply this has to happen, and a minimum of twice a week. So it's really being strict with yourself, and if I can't do it this time, when can I do it? So yeah, it's putting it into your routine. And actually then, because obviously I do work, I'm fortunate enough to be able to work part-time, because we run our own business, but I have incorporated exercise into most of my day's routine, and then I feel that I perform better for doing that. So it makes sense for me.
Yeah.
And equally, as a mother and a friend and everything else, if I do put that time into exercise, I will be better in all of those areas.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there. And what about for the other side of training, but recovery? How did you prioritise that? So things like massage, or understanding when was a good day to take it easy rather than a good day to push, and just making sure that, as well as stressing yourself in a positive way with exercise, you're also giving yourself the bandwidth to recover and bounce back from that.
Is this while training for the marathon particularly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was quite a learning curve, because obviously you had to be very disciplined, and I was very disciplined with my training in terms of the miles that you needed to cover, and obviously that increased over time. But you came to realise that your very long run that you'd maybe do at the weekend, you would need the rest of that day and the day after for sure to recover. Just feel that in yourself, and then and again, I remember talking to you about even training for the half marathon, not stressing too much about it, putting in the hours you needed. But if you did miss a session for whatever reason, knowing that there'd be a way that it wasn't all lost, that you could continue. I think the worst part sometimes is to stress too much before a race, and that is, counterproductive, and it's going to make you anxious. And not to over stress about it. Get the miles in, but also be kind to yourself, and also understand that things crop up sometimes in your life.
Yeah. I mean, a training program is never linear. It goes up and it goes down. You'll have an exceptionally good run, and the following week you won't want to lift your feet. And there's lots of things. It's understanding all the inputs that go into that. How well recovered are you from the previous runs? Have you had good sleep? Are you stressed about anything? Are you hydrated? Have you eaten properly? It could just be that your head's not in the right place for it. And I think it's having the confidence, and perhaps the guidance from somebody, even if it's just a friend who's done this before, to say, look, it will be up and down. Today is perhaps a better day to just go and do a yoga session, meditate, breathe, go for a swim, or perhaps just go for a walk with a friend and pick it up the following day. It's having the confidence and it's tuning into your body and understanding what's going to be right for that particular session. And sometimes you'll scrap a session, and sometimes it'll go really well. Particularly with marathon training, because it's at least 3 months of training. I don't know, how long did you take to train up for it?
Yeah, it was about 3 months. And I followed a schedule, and that that worked for me. So I know some people are less rigid with that sort of thing, but for me, I really needed to follow a plan.
Yeah, I think for the first one you do. I mean, I do, as you know, I've done 3 marathons and quite a lot of long distance runs, and now my training is more about being very, very consistent all year round and just throwing in a few longer runs prior to an event. But I've done the distance now. I would never have done that for my first half, my first 10K, my first marathon. But yeah, let's come to the marathon itself then. So the training, I think, went fairly well, didn't it? It went without event.
Yeah, absolutely.
A good training run. So talk to us about the day itself. How did you feel the morning of the marathon?
Yeah, I weirdly, I didn't feel very nervous. I felt ready to do it. I'd been that week before, I think is really difficult because all you want to do is get on. You've done all the training. Quite a strange week because you are having to rest, and that feels quite odd as well.
Did you have restless legs?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, just feeling, come on, let's twitching, just do this. Yeah. So I think the day arrived. It was a beautiful, sunny day, and it was exciting. I was with my brother, and let's just do this. We weren't concerned about time. We had a rough idea. of the time that we thought we'd finish, but it wasn't a case of, let's try and beat any, we hadn't done it before. So it was just, let's try and do this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah.
Brilliant. And the run itself, so it's a roller coaster, I know, having done a few of them. You look back at the start of the morning, even though it's 4 or 5 hours earlier, and it feels like weeks away from when you first set off all excited. What was it like actually going through, were you with your brother the whole time?
Yeah, we stayed together, which I'm really happy about. We knew we were sort of running at a similar pace and we trained together, but we weren't sure on the day how that would pan out. But we were really happy to run together, which was great. And yeah, that first half, I think, was, we were pretty elated, really. It was that, quite euphoric feeling, and we were keeping a good pace and, we can do this. This is all working out. And yeah, it does change a little bit later on. One of the hardest I've ever done in my life, for sure.
And what
but
was
worth it. It was 4 hours, 45 minutes.
Brilliant. Yeah. And how much raised?
We raise, in excess of £1,000, probably £1,200, if not more, for our charity. Yeah.
Brilliant. So let's bring it full circle. How do you feel about, what space are you in now with your mental health?
I'm in a really good place now. Following the marathon. I haven't, to be honest, been running. I'm actually exercising, but in a different way. I think it's almost like I need to have that break away from running for a while. But I'm doing HIIT sessions 2 to 3 a week, and I've also been doing some yoga. So I'm back to doing classes, but some sort of high intensity classes, and working on my strength training as well. So I've been doing some body pump classes as well.
Mm-hmm. Brilliant. So you're feeling go on.
Yeah, I've joined a club, which I've been meaning to join for a long time. Which again, it's investing. It's a club that I probably thought, that's too expensive, but now realise that actually I'm going to make the best of it and use it. And I take the children swimming as well. So we're doing something as a family, for our fit, and it's been well worth the investment. And I feel great. Yeah.
Yeah, good. So what are your kind of non-negotiables now?
2 to 3 times a week. I will exercise. I've been going early morning, actually. So I've been getting there for 6:30, which is a big thing for me. Arriving home at 7:15, and then feeling great because I can get the kids to school and get to work and do a full day. And I haven't impacted into the day at all, and have my evening. So that is working really well for me. But if I don't manage that, then I'll get out in the evening. But I speak to my husband about it, and he understands it's important. And we talk both of us about the importance of exercise for us both. So I think we're at that point now where it's not feeling guilty, I think, for doing it. It's realizing that actually you need to do it, and you're a happier person and a more relaxed for doing it. So it's win-win for everybody.
Yeah. And hasn't it had a kind of a ripple effect into the family as well? I mean, your husband does more now, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. Running and
well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the children, I think it's been good for them, and is good for them to see their parents exercising, and to see me having complete the marathon. They talk about running now, and they watch the Great South Run the other day, and Mum, do this next year. So I think it's role modelling for them. And then, oh my gosh, I could do that. And Mummy didn't think that she could do that, but she did. And that means that I can go and try and achieve things I didn't think I could do.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So what's next for you then? The big question.
Yeah. Been asking. I don't know. Yeah, that's quite strange. I thought I'd want to sign up to something straight away afterwards. I'm pondering at the moment. I know I need to have a challenge, I think, for next year, because that works really well. And I highly recommend that to anyone, actually, to have something to work for, whether it be your first 10K, your first half marathon, or an endurance challenge. I think to have something in the diary, and that's quite hard to commit to. Again, because I think as a mum, again, you tend to think, what are the family going to do, next year, and what are we? So to actually commit to you doing something might be difficult. when you tend to put everybody else's commitments first. So I don't know is the answer. So, something that it's definitely worth putting something in for next year. It's just I'm not sure about another marathon at the moment.
No,
but
I've got a few ideas. We can take it offline. What I love is when you're on an airplane, you're advised to put your own oxygen mask on first before helping others. And I think in terms of motherhood, and I don't have children, so I'll tread carefully here, but in terms of motherhood, I think we could adopt some of that in terms of the way that women prioritise themselves with regards to their children, their husbands or wives, or anyone else that relies upon them. If you look after your own oxygen mask first, you're going to be in much, much better shape to help everyone around you. So I think just adopting some of that idea, that analogy, I think, would really help. But Dom, this has been really, really interesting. And I want to just thank you for being open and sharing everything that's helped you and where you're at now as well. If somebody's listening in and they are thinking about entering an event, or they're worrying about their mental health, or they're wondering whether exercise can help them, what would you say to energize and motivate them?
Just go for it. I really can't recommend it enough. It's like a magic wand is all I can say. Just go for it. Just make that step. Sign up to that event. Make that time for you, because you will really, really reap the benefits. Brilliant.
We've clearly seen that with you. Dom, thank you so much. All the best for your next endeavours. And we look forward to hearing from you soon.
No, it's a pleasure. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thanks for listening to the show. If you've enjoyed what you've heard, help us to reach more people by leaving a rating and a review on iTunes. We would really appreciate that, and it would help us to spread the good word even further. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you on the next show.